sacred place where we discuss all things of earth and outer space, where we divine to pass the time, and no one can put us down or in our place. Grab your tea leaves or your spirits and gather around. The embers are glowing, warm flames abound. The hallowed hearth welcomes you now.
Some stories are told to entertain, but tonight's story is a warning. Welcome to the Hallowed Hearth. I am Katy Lynne Wolfe. As ever, I'm joined by my spooky sisters, Rachel Ravensvale and Haley Hansen. Hello, sisters.
Hello, gorgeous.
Hello.
Hi. Wow, our guest tonight. Our guest tonight didn't go looking for the darkness. It found him. What began as a terrifying encounter became years of relentless torment from an intelligent, unseen entity that haunted his family and forever changed his understanding of the paranormal. Tonight, we're diving into that chilling true story with author and host of the Unholy Podcast, Doug Owen. Please join us in welcoming him to the Hearth. Hello, Doug.
Hi, welcome. Thanks for welcoming me. Appreciate it.
Thank you for being with us. This is very exciting for us.
It's my pleasure.
So we do a tarot card pull, which our regular watchers will know, but yours may not. So as our guest tonight, would you be willing to tell me when to stop and kind of choose our card for this week?
Absolutely. Go right ahead.
All right.
I'm ready.
You just tell me whenever you feel spoken to.
How about now?
All right.
Dun, 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 dun.
The Five of Cups.
Interesting.
Spilled tea isn't the end of the world. So, our reflection book. And for those of you that are new, this is the Cozy Witch Tarot deck that we pull from every week. If you want to use the same that we use. Rachel, while I am looking this up, what deck do you typically use, or do you have one that you kind of dedicate to your all the times?
Yeah, for the most part, I think my favorite one is my Beetlejuice deck.
Oh yeah.
Yeah, because I just love like the artwork on it. It's beautiful. You would think it would not be, but the artist that they used was incredible. I think with the characters and everything, there's a real beauty to it.
I love that. And it's Beetlejuice. Who doesn't love Beetlejuice?
I know.
Exactly.
Just don't say it too many times.
Oh yeah. We have to draw a door, do the whole thing. It'll be
yeah.
So our Five of Cups, after tripping and spilling nearly all her enchanted tea, this witch is totally distraught, to say the least. The good news, though, it is that it was only nearly all of it, not all of it. There are still 2 perfectly good cups of tea left, but she's so lost in her initial grief that she forgets all about them. There may be a situation where you're doing something similar, fixating on your missteps to the point you can't see the magic that awaits you beyond them. You may find yourself overthinking some of your past words or actions, but the thing is, there's no way for you to go back and change them. The only thing you can do is commit to using these hard lessons learned to make better choices in the future.
Words of wisdom. Lloyd, words of wisdom. Right. Nice.
We every week our card has really resonated with our group. It's
Uncanny.
yeah. Definitely. Are you a tarot guy, Doug, or is this kind of outside your
No,
wheelhouse?
no, absolutely. No, I've had several tarot readings, and yeah, in fact, a couple of guests this week that I've interviewed um, pulled the tarot deck. The spirits actually told her to pull the tarot deck before the interview, and yeah, it was quite interesting. Quite an interesting little read, but yeah, no, I'm familiar with it. Yeah.
I love that. That's awesome. All right. So, Rachel, why don't you start some questions? Tell us a little bit more about Doug.
Oh yeah, I don't know. If you want to share a little bit about your story first about the book, because all the questions I have definitely delve into that experience. So I don't know if you want to give just a little brief summary about what the book is about, The Unholy Silence.
Sure, absolutely. So, The Unholy Silence is my true memoir. Now, this took me 20 years to write. And, life gets in the way. You worry about paying bills, you worry about relationships with your partner, you worry about raising kids, and you worry about everyday life. So, it was on the back burner. But what I experienced was about a year and a half in a house that was absolutely infested. And the entities that I encountered, they were malevolent, never helpful. And, at the end of the day, it became almost commonplace. However, whatever this was in the house, and I'm still searching for the answer, it escalated with a terrifying intelligence. So, this is my memoir, The Unholy Silence. And part of the title is simply because a lot of the things that had happened, there was silence where there should have been noise. I went to the Catholic Church for help, there was silence. Friends, silence. Reached out family, silence. So it's kind of a double entendre there where, the title really reflects the entities, but also the society in which we live, right? Because there's a certain shame when you're haunted.
Mm.
I've written this in my book that if you're in society, they don't know how to treat the differently abled. If you're depressed, you hide it. If you're physically disabled, you try to conceal it and you carry on the best you can, right? But if you're haunted, you damn well better keep it to yourself because there's two possibilities. One, you're insane. And number two, you're just damned. So keeping it to myself is kind of what I did for 20 years. And finally, I plucked up the courage to actually write the book.
That's amazing. Yeah, there really is a stigma to it, and it's a shame because I think that there are probably more people that go through this than we even realize.
Oh, absolutely. I mean, there's countless people that experience paranormal events, even sometimes on a daily basis, and have no outlet to just talk about it in a safe place without worrying that they're gonna lose their career, their family, their reputation, X, Y, Z, any of it. And it's not their fault. It's really a shame, but that's why we're here to try to break the stigma. So thank you again for joining us.
Yeah, absolutely. And keep in mind that the height of social media technology when this was happening to me was MySpace. So there wasn't all of these groups that we have now. Now you throw a stick and you're going to hit a paranormal, Superman that can come and help, or a superwoman that can come with their team and help figure this thing out. So that just wasn't the reality back then.
Yeah.
Absolutely.
So, was there a single moment that made you think this is not a ghost? This is something much darker?
Absolutely. So let me preface it with a little bit of a story here. So a friend of ours had defaulted on their mortgage, and we moved into their house. I contacted the mortgage company. We were allowed to kind of buy the house out from under them before they went into foreclosure.
Mm-hmm.
I reached out to a lender who was recommended by a colleague at work. Long story short, the lender kept telling me I didn't have good enough credit to get the loan. The 90 days ran out. He decided that he was going to buy the house and then charge us a small amount of rent going forward. Well, he broke his word, and the first month he charged us $3,000. The second month it was $4,000, and it quickly was going to break me. And that's just how the laws are here. Any landlord in Idaho, where I live, can increase the rent any amount they want to, as long as they give you a 30-day notice. So I was angry. I was frustrated. I was stressed. I didn't know what to do. So I ended up at the Catholic Church on one Saturday morning. It was the most bizarre thing. And I walked in there, and the priest was standing there like he was waiting for me. And I'd never been to a Catholic church before. I wasn't really religious. And we sat down and talked about it. Well, at the end of the conversation, I decided I was going to go ahead and try and become Catholic. And he had a house that he could have us move into almost immediately, which we did. So we moved into the house. Everything seemed normal. 3 weeks go by, everything was great. I could finally breathe. And keep in mind, I was financially exhausted, emotionally exhausted, spiritually bankrupt, financially bankrupt. We didn't have anywhere else to go. So my daughter comes home from school, and she's 12. And she got into a little bit of trouble. So my wife and I sit her down on her bed. We're facing her, and then behind her is a window. And we're telling her what she did wrong at school. And by the window, we see this teenage boy, bright canary shirt, 70s type bowl cut strawberry hair, run by the window. Now, the bizarre thing is, for him to do that, he would have had to have been 12 to 15 feet tall. So I jumped up, ran to the door, 3 steps. I'm bounding like Michael Jordan. 3 steps onto the front door, 3 more steps. I'm at the corner of the house outside. I'm looking around. It's as if the neighborhood was holding its breath. There was nothing, no sign. So that was the first indication. And that was the first thing that started. And almost every day, there was another incident that occurred. But that was the first clue that, yes, something strange is happening here.
Mm.
I know, I'm gonna give you chills.
Yeah.
Was there?
Deputies were scary enough as they were.
Oh yeah. Was there ever like an experience that was so terrifying you almost left it out of the Unholy Silence?
Yeah, but that's kind of the big denouement. So I'll save that story for the last.
Okay.
But yes, there was a time eventually I gave myself permission to step off the battlefield. And it was like playing chess every day with something that was intelligent. And every day, whatever the escapade was that didn't work, it increased in terror. It increased. And eventually, it really wasn't terrifying. It was kind of more annoying, because here I am trying to raise a family, be a good husband, be a good father, be a good, man of society. And then you have all of these things happening, and it becomes annoying. And, not until the very end, just before I left the house, is the terrifying conclusion that happened. But, the next thing that happened was, now downstairs was little window wells around. So you couldn't really, if you had to escape in a fire and you were like, 100 pounds and really skinny, you could probably escape and survive, right? Other than that, you weren't going to live if the house burned down. So the windows, they were the old type that on the old spring, that kind of boing and go inward, and you've got a little brass latch and you push it. Well, this one was really tall, and the window kept opening. This window was above the washing machine. Now, I had to crawl up onto the washing machine on my knees to reach it to close it. And it kept opening. And I messed with the latch. I checked it, closed it, went in to shave, and I felt cold wind. I was like, what is going on? I go back to check. Of course, the window's open. This happens 10 times a day. Finally, I get up there, I close it, really secure it. And then I go upstairs and stomp on the floor above it, trying to vibrate it. I go outside. I kick the window gently, not to break it, but kick the frame to make sure, it's not going to open. So I do that. I go back downstairs and the window's open again.
No.
I'm out.
So annoying things like that started to happen throughout the house. And, I had two daughters well, I still have two daughters, but at the time they were young daughters. And they would always look to me for an answer. And looking back in retrospect, with all of these things happening, we never sat down at a table and said, look, everybody share your experiences. Let's kind of figure out what's going on, what's happening. It was more of a leadership thing where they looked to me for the answers. I was the one becoming a newly minted Catholic. I was the one, who decided I'm young and arrogant. I'm the dad. Toxic masculinity took over. I've got to beat this thing, whatever it is. And, I was flinging holy water like a gunslinger. And, I would say it every night. And it made it so much worse.
I've heard that with different cases that sprinkling holy water just ends up pissing whatever off more.
At least you tried something, though. When my house growing up was haunted, my dad just acted like we were all crazy, even though he saw the same things that we did. So at least you were trying. I give you props for that, for sure.
No, absolutely. And things, the book is really kind of the breakdown of me holding everything together. My marriage, my job, the kids, friends, family, all of those things eventually began to crack and crumble. And in retrospect, again, I think that was the target, was to destroy my faith. And the harder I prayed, the worse it got. Now, as soon as I moved in, the Catholic Church had really insisted on me getting the house blessed. And I was like, well, give me a month, give me a couple weeks. Oh, no. We need to get it blessed right away. Okay, well, come on out then. All right. There's boxes everywhere. Go ahead. And they did. So it was kind of interesting. Their insistence, looking back, was kind of also a red flag. Like, why do we need to have it done immediately? What difference is it going to make? But the occurrences from there increased. And every morning I would get up and go to work. And yes, it was still dark outside. I worked an early shift. And every time I'd go up the stairs, I felt like something was chasing me. So I would take the stairs 3 at a time, 4 at a time if I could. And had that eerie feeling of just uncomfortable being chased. So we dug into the history of the house. 1952, run-of-the-mill house built. It's a Victorian style, plaster walls, hardwood floors, nothing unusual. As far as I could tell, there was no Native American burial ground. Nobody was brutally murdered in the place, so we're not really sure where this activity was coming from. But every day it increased. So the next time that something happened was, and keep in mind that, for all you listeners out there and all you people watching, this isn't some dark and stormy night on Friday the 13th with lightning streaking down and the winds howling, right? This is 3 o'clock in the afternoon. Bright Idaho sunny day, not a cloud in the sky. So after school was my turn to kind of take care of the kids. My wife at the time had gone to work about 2:30 in the afternoon, and she would work till about midnight. So about 3 o'clock in the afternoon, we are downstairs. The girls are enjoying their after-school snack before dinner. We're watching some TV show or a movie or a program. We hear the door, the familiar lock, disengage. We hear the door open and slam. and we hear her familiar high heels click across the hardwood floor. My two girls looked at each other in unison. Mom's home. Jinx, double jinx, triple jinx. Okay. All right, girls, stop right there. Okay, that's enough. Take your bowls upstairs. Take your plates upstairs. I'm going to turn the TV off. Go see mom. They go upstairs. I turn off the TV, grab the plate. I start to walk up the stairs, and they meet me halfway down. And they say, Mom's not home, and they have a bewildered look on their face. I said, no, she's in the bathroom. Go upstairs. Let's go see her. So they turn around and march up the stairs. I follow closely behind. We get upstairs. The front door is locked. The chain is drawn. I don't know why. I usually don't latch the chain, and I pull back the curtains and look in the driveway. Her car's not there. I was like, okay, let me text. So I text her. She's been at work, hasn't come home. So the kids are looking, with eyes the size of hen's eggs, looking at me for an explanation. I'm like, oh, it must have been the neighbor doing some banging or construction. We must have misheard, or the TV. Let's go back downstairs. We'll finish our show. We start to go downstairs. The girls go before me down the stairwell, and I hear a noise in the garage. And the door to the garage is at the head of the stairs. I open the door, and I see my electric sander has been plugged in and thrown underneath the project car I was restoring. Now, it was pounding up and down, jumping all around. I run over, of course, real quick, unplug it. And keep in mind, this house is 1952. I am terrified of electrical fires because we have those round fuses you've got to screw into place, right? So I never leave anything plugged in. So I close the door. The girls are at the foot of the stairs looking at me again, wide-eyed. I'm like, oh, don't worry about it. Just, one of the tools fell off the shelf. So it became a commonplace for me to really just kind of explain it away with logical explanations, things of that nature.
Oh my God. I know you mentioned something about maybe impacting, where people think you're like crazy. What did that experience do to your mental health?
At the time, I would have said absolutely nothing. I'm made of adamantium. I cannot be broken. Are you kidding me? Here I am, barely 30 years old and bulletproof, right? In retrospect, I would say that the psychological damage could have lasted years. And, you tuck it away, and you explain it away, and you forward, that's what we were taught, pull yourself up by your bootstraps, forge ahead. It's not just you anymore, young man. You've got a family. You've got, 3 ladies you've got to, be strong for. So I would say it increased the toxic masculinity. It increased my sense of duty, which is totally unhealthy, and it was like, well, don't take any time for yourself. You're unbreakable. Keep fighting. Stay on the battlefield. Win. Do whatever it takes. So that's kind of the mode I was in. And it was war mode. It was first the lender who had, betrayed and swindled us. It was a constant fight. And I was absolutely battle hardened and seasoned and accustomed to conflict. And that's sad to say. Think about that for a minute. I was comfortable and to constant conflict, which is horrible, right? Nobody should have to live like that.
No.
But that was the life. That was how it was, and that's kind of what it was. But I started documenting. I started writing these occurrences down. And this is long before I became a paranormal investigator. This is my first experience with the paranormal. I mean, of this level where it's like, wow.
It was like you got jumped into the gang.
Yeah.
Yeah, exactly. Is this really happening or and it's amazing what the human mind can accept, because before that I would have thought, as Scooby-Doo and the gang, I'd run like hell. I'd be terrified. Like, oh, look, Scoob, it's a ghost. And you'd run out the door, right? And you'd go. But I didn't. It was almost like an infestation of pests, like the ants, or, you've got cockroaches or you've got termites. It was that level of, we have an infestation, people. And some of the things were fun, some of the things weren't.
I do have a question, because you stated earlier before that it started off as almost an annoyance. Is there one particular event that where it started to flip to more of a threatening presence, or was it just the longer it went on, the more you're like, this has to stop?
Yeah, so the next occurrence happened when I had a housewarming party. Now, at the time, I worked at a retail store warehouse, a large warehouse here. And, I was in charge of a team of 15 people. And every day their job was to move boxes in and out. Now, keep in mind three things. I'm in Idaho. My team were mostly 25 to 35-year-old men. And every one of them's got a red Solo cup. I think you can probably get the image of what we're talking about here in Idaho. And everybody has cowboy boots, right?
Yeah.
So I have a party. And everybody's having a good time, and it's a great, hey, Doug's got a house party, let's do this. And my daughters come in, and they tell me with horrified look on their face that the tree in the front yard is talking to them. A man's voice is coming from this tree. I can tell you, you have never seen so many cowboys run out that front door with red Solo cups in their hand looking to beat some ass, right?
Mm-hmm.
They're out there scouring the neighborhood. 5 guys running this way, 2 that way, 1 guy running across the street, looking under cars, looking in the neighbor's yard, looking over the fence, looking in the backyard. Again, the neighborhood is silent. There's nobody there. And both of my daughters to this very day will tell you that they remember that voice very clearly, trying to coax them over closer to the tree. And keep in mind that any human being could probably not run faster than my girls into the house telling me, and then these men running out after them. There's just really no way they would not be seen. There really wasn't anywhere to hide for them. So that was kind of the second occurrence that happened. But during the night, there was a lot of things where my daughters were terrorized. Now, because it took a couple of steps to get up into the main level of the house, anybody standing outside my daughter's windows would have to be, again, 10 to 15 feet tall just to look in over the sill. So we felt comfortable with the solid door, the security, our Rottweiler in the backyard. We felt pretty comfortable having our bedroom downstairs and the girls on the main floor. So my daughter one night screamed for me, and I run up the stairs, of course, and I burst into her room. I say, "What's wrong?" She says, "There's a man in my closet." Well, of course, I rip the doors open, ready to, do I call it fatherly combat, right? So you open it up, and you look, and of course, there's nobody in the closet. However, all of her clothing on the hangers are swaying like a ship at sea.
No.
As if some earthquake or something had happened. And, she seemed to be the target of a lot of the paranormal and the supernatural occurrences there.
How old was she?
She was 12 at the time, almost 13. And my other daughter was 4 years younger. And she experienced a couple of smaller, less, I would say, obtrusive occurrences. But my oldest daughter seemed to be the catalyst, or at least the target of whatever this was. Now, keep in mind, this wasn't always a terrifying thing. Sometimes the chocolates that I got from Bosnia, an employee of mine was Bosnian, she got these European chocolates that were just delicious, but I was going to bring them out for guests at Thanksgiving. Well, the box was put into the pantry, and I went to retrieve them, and they were gone. And two things about my kids. My daughters were so well behaved. I got compliments. They were always yes, please, and no thank you. They were always so polite. And they never disobeyed. I didn't ever have to even raise my voice that much to get them to do what they were supposed to do. So the search for the chocolates began. All of my guests are everywhere, and they're looking for the chocolates. The kids are searching. There's other kids looking in my kids' room for the chocolates in case they took them. They were just gone. Now, 30, 40 minutes later, I go into the pantry and I open up the pantry. And in the pantry, I had the stereo receiver next to the food. It was really cool. I wired the house so that there was music everywhere. And I turned it. I was going to turn it. Okay, Thanksgiving's over. Guess what that means, everybody? Yep, it's Christmas music time, right? I was
One
hated.
of those.
I was hated that night, believe me. But that's a great way to get guests to leave, when
Oh,
Thanksgiving
yeah.
There you go.
thing. Either that or you hold up a folder and you ask them if they've ever heard of Amway. They run. It's great. It's terrific to get them out of there. So I go to the pantry to turn the station. And lo and behold, exactly where I put them, exactly how I had the box positioned, the chocolates reappeared. So sometimes it was almost prank-like.
Yeah.
It was almost prank-like. So a couple of days later, my friend who was at Thanksgiving, my mentor and friend, Mark DeWire, he was very sensitive to the paranormal. Since the young age of 8, he was able to discern objects that had a negative history or a positive one. So he brought over a woman, I guess her name was Susan. And I opened the door and said, "Hi, Susan, nice to meet you." Walked right by me as if I didn't exist. And she walked straight to my stairwell and straight downstairs. Like, okay, who's this? Okay, great, thanks. Come on in. So she goes downstairs, and it was the most bizarre thing. She began speaking in like the voice of a child, and it kind of made me feel creepy. And it wasn't like a different voice was coming out of her. It was like, if you gave your best, Mickey Mouse impression or whatever it was one of those things. She claimed that the little boy in the house, his name was Timmy. Now, Timmy had a special message for us. Timmy told us that there were other things in the house that didn't want us there. And if we didn't leave, they were going to kill us.
Oh,
So
geez. That
she
escalated quickly.
that was her message. She immediately after delivering the message turned to the stairs, went up the stairs, went out the front door, and sat her ass in the passenger seat of my friend's car and waited for him to drive her away.
Ah,
How weird.
screw you, Timmy.
Exactly. Exactly. So what is the newly minted, newly baptized, full of faith Catholic do? Yeah, Father Ben, I'm going to need you to come over here and bless the house. I think you missed the downstairs. So
Gosh.
bring all your shit. I mean, your stuff with you, Father. Please.
But you said, did that at that time, did that start to piss it off more? Like that you had the house blessed again?
Absolutely, absolutely.
No.
You could almost feel, the rage. It was the tension. It was the bizarre things that happened. And I was getting annoyed and frustrated and stressed because things began to escalate. And my daughter, my older daughter, middle of the night, screams for me again, and I run upstairs. And I said, "What is it? What's going on?" She says, "Well, there's a little boy that crawls out from under my bed." I said, "What? What boy? Where?"
Mm.
"He's really sick and he throws up in the hallway."
Ew.
I said, "Okay, where is he now?" I said, "You just had a dream, honey. That's not a thing." She said, "No, this happens every night. He rolls a ball out from under my bed," and she pulls up this ball. I'd never seen this ball before. I was like, where did that come from? Little toy ball he'd roll out from under her bed, crawl out on all fours, and go into the hallway and then vomit and then disappear.
Oh.
Oh,
That
it's so
sounds
super.
so much like a scene from The Sixth Sense. Do you remember the girl?
More broccoli combat.
Really was. And my other daughter had woken up to come in to see what the commotion was, and she was shaking her head. Yeah, Dad, I saw him too. Yeah, I was like, hey, you guys told me about it. Why aren't we talking about this before? And they didn't really have an answer.
Nope.
So it began to escalate,
Mm.
and my daughter's room seemed to be kind of almost like a play place for these things. So we knew that there was probably a boy ghost. That's probably who we saw run by the window, who misplaced the car keys, who took the chocolates, right? The television would continue to turn on at random. That was really annoying. I dismissed it as electrical interference, those things. But when my daughters start to see when my daughters start to see apparitions, I started to get concerned. So keep in mind that these things happened almost daily, but halfway in daylight, halfway, I would say 50-50 day, 50-50 night. And my daughter's window, even during the day, would not stay closed. Now, the upstairs windows are slightly different than the ones downstairs. These windows had the springs on the side, the old wood, and when you boing, 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 when you open them. So the window just would not stay closed. And my daughter would come and tell me, hey, Dad, my window just flew open again. Okay. You know what? I'm going to take care of this. So I grab those long black sheetrock screws. You've seen them, right?
Mm-hmm.
And I drill 6 of those through the sill into the sash. And I didn't give a shit at that time if it damaged the house, right? I was like, now let's see what the hell happens. So, all right, girls, it's Wednesday. Let's get to church. Let's go. So we go to church. And I pull the deacon aside. And I say, look, I got to talk to you for a minute. There's some weird stuff happening here at the house. I said, there's things missing, and the sander was turned on, and we hear these noises, and my daughter's window just won't stay closed. He looks at me, he says, okay, well, have you called the police? I said, well, yes, on a earlier instance I did call the police, and I'll tell that story next. I said, yes, I did call the police. He says, well, maybe you should get a weapon. I said, look, I'm 250 pounds. I've got a shotgun and a Rottweiler, and I'm a martial artist. I'm not afraid of any man. You're not understanding. He looks at me dead in the eyes. He says, your house has been blessed 3 times. Yeah? Why do you think that is? He says, well, no evil can exist where God's love is. You know what? Fuck it. I am done with you. I'm done. Forget it. I'm embarrassed. I don't want to talk about it. Forget I even mentioned it. Girls, come on, let's go. I gather the girls and I leave the church just absolutely pissed. So we go home. I tuck my younger daughter into bed. My older daughter comes in for a drink of water. We're at the kitchen. I gave her a little ceramic Jesus statue. You've probably seen them. You can get them at any religious store. It's got the red cross. He's kneeling in the garden, right?
Mm-hmm.
On the rock praying. So I give it to her. I say, well, let's set this on your window. So I walk in, I show her, I set it on the windowsill. I say, well, let's get your drink of water, and then I'll come tuck you in. She comes in, gets her drink of water, she goes to bed. And it's about maybe 20 feet away from kitchen to bedroom. And I'm in the middle of getting a drink of water. I hear her scream. And once again, 2 steps, I'm at the door. I look into her bedroom. She's in the corner in her bed, huddled like this, biting on her fists. The Jesus statue has been turned into powder, destroyed completely. And the window is thrown open with 6 sheetrock screws hanging from the bottom with chunks of wood that were ripped with force from the sill. And this happened in complete silence. We heard nothing. And she was absolutely horrified. I was shocked. I was like, how the hell did this happen with no noise? And again, the unholy silence. So I grabbed a steel bar and I stuck it on top of the sash and, said, there you go, try that. And you know what? The window stayed shut.
So does that ever make you sort of question your own beliefs about good and evil then?
It didn't. If anything, it probably reinforced it because at that time, keep in mind, arrogant young Dougie says, well, I'm obviously that important. So now I take it as my personal responsibility as a young Catholic to do battle with the forces of hell, right? I mean, game on. Let's do it.
Yeah.
Go to the church, get more holy water, go to the store, buy more crucifixes in front of every entryway, every egress. We had probably 30 crucifixes, a baptismal font. We had St. Benedict medals buried in every corner of the house. The house was then again blessed a third time. I had holy water like you wouldn't believe in every type of vessel and container you could think of. Literally, I almost had it strapped in holsters on my side. Like I said, a gunslinger. And every night, the Lord's Prayer, fling that holy water. And I would burn the church incense. I would say the prayers. I would try to expel the whatever it was in the house. And it only made it worse every time.
Oh my goodness.
Now, when you say worse, do you mean like more violent or just like more activity for a few days? Like, oh, good luck with that.
The activities seem to be like something poking, testing, sticking your big toe in the pool to see the temperature. It was almost as I said, playing chess with a malevolent force. And when the theatrics didn't work, we didn't leave the house. I didn't break my faith. I didn't abandon the Catholic Church. We still openly prayed, made the sign of the cross. We went to church all the time. And, we were openly Catholic. All of the accoutrements in the house the decor was adorned with, things of Christ. So, it was one of those things where we were visible, and it seemed to displease whatever or whoever these things were. Now, the next incident that happened, and I didn't actually think about this, it's written in my diary. I thought it was odd at the time, but I didn't think it was supernatural until 20 years later, and then I'm like, oh, now it's clear. My neighbor and I would have Sunday beers and a cigarette over the fence as we talked, right? And that year we had a competition to see whose lawn was the nicest, right? So Sunday morning comes around and I go to church and it's early. And if you're Catholic out there, if you guys know this, you know that Mass is like the drive-through at McDonald's. It lasts about 1 hour. You get your wine, you get your bread, you listen to the homily, you sing a ho, 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 and then you go home, right? So you do your thing, you go home, you're there. So about 9:30 in the morning, I come home and I'm driving up to the house and I notice the front door is open. Well, what's a husband to do? Wife, did you leave that front door open? No, I didn't do it. Okay, kids, did you leave the front door open? No. As I pull into my driveway, I notice the garage door is open. Huh, that's weird. I look a little closer and I look through the garage and I can see the door to the backyard. And you know how the garages are. There's a door to the backyard. Mm-hmm. And I see my Rottweiler standing there looking at me like I have 3 heads, just standing there. And I look closer and every door and window in the house is open. Every one of them. So I get out of the car. I tell the family, hey, family, stay there for a minute. Let me check this out. So I walk up and I just kind of peek in. And then, of course, my neighbor is out, mowing his lawn or weed and feeding it, whatever he's doing. And he was a fanatic. He had this backpack thing with 2 pumps on it, and he was spraying his yard like crazy. He wanted to win that competition. So I was like, hey, John, is this you? Did you do this? Are you fucking with me? Is this you? He's like, no, nobody's been here. He said, I saw you guys leave for church. Nobody's been even driving up the street. Now, keep in mind, this is 80,000 people in Podunk, Nampa, Idaho, right? On a Sunday morning where 90% of the people in this city, state, town are religious. So it's like a ghost town. There's nobody on the streets, nobody driving, because church there for the Mormons and the Mormons that lasts all day. So if you ever wanted a great seat at the movie theater, or if you wanted to be first in line for anything, Sunday's the day to do it.
Like your
So
heathen neighbor. No, I'm just kidding.
exactly. So I call the police,
Hmm.
and two of the Canyon County Sheriff's deputies come out. And I tell them, hey, I just got home from church. There's, probably some dudes in my house. Get them out. So they go in and they come out about 10 minutes later. They say, well, Mr. Owen, the good news is there's nobody in your house. Great. Thank you so much. Appreciate it. They don't move. They kind of look at each other. I said, what? What more? They said, well, we have to tell you that your stereo was turned on full blast on static noise. I said, okay, that's kind of strange. Thanks, guys. So, I'll take a look. And they didn't move. I said, okay, what else? They said, well, we've got to tell you that every mirror in your house is shattered. I said, what? What? They're like, yeah, so whoever did this isn't afraid to escalate. I said, every mirror? They're like, yeah. So of course I said, well, can I go into my house? They're like, yeah, we'll give you a DR report, a report number, and we'll go along our business. So I go in the house, and it's not just the mirrors over the bathroom sinks. It's not just the vanities. It's the toy compact mirrors I'd given to the girls to play makeup with. It's my wife's makeup compacts. It's the dental mirrors in the drawer of the bathroom. It's the forgotten shaving mirror in a travel kit I had tucked underneath the bathroom sink. Every single glass mirror was shattered with force. So, police reports exist. I went to the Catholic Church. They ignored my plea for help, asking me to believe in a supernatural being who could turn water to wine, expel demons. You've heard the stories, walk on water. However, when I go to them and say, hey, there's something supernatural happening here, there's something unholy, they make you believe that you're crazy. Believe in this, but don't believe in this, right?
Don't believe in the demons that we want you to believe in. Oh my gosh.
Exactly.
Nope.
Exactly. So
Now,
the-
I know
yeah.
in paranormal, like, everybody is afraid because of, TV and movies and everything of calling something a demon. Would you categorize that into a demon, or are you still kind of like, I don't know what this is?
At that point, I would say no. However, things quickly escalated. So I went for my Sunday cigarette and beer to talk to my neighbor. And we were friendly, we were amicable, we'd help each other with our house projects. And, he was a good guy. He had 3 daughters of his own. And, occasionally his high school daughter would babysit our kids, a very friendly family. So I walk over to the fence, cigarette. He silently opens up a bottle of beer, hands it to me as we normally do, and we rest on the fence. And we get ready to discuss all of the laborious things that come with fatherhood, right? Very, very classic apple pie America. So I say, hey, man, what's going on? And doesn't say anything. He drinks his beer, smokes his cigarette. Now, this man had piercing blue eyes. They were beautiful blue eyes, And I got to tell you, just great blue eyes. And he leans in close to me, and he looks at me in the eyes, and he says, your wife's a slut. Well, John, what? What? Your wife's a slut. He repeats it. I instantly am angered, but I'm also confused, amused, trying to bring up a friendly, half-hearted laugh as if it was the punchline of a joke, and I study his face. Why would you, John, why would you say that? He stares at me for a moment, turns his back to me, and starts to walk away. As he walks away, he flicks his cigarette into the street, and I'm calling after him. John! John! Hey, John! Get back here! Hey! Ignores me and continues to walk. So I go in the house. Now, at this time, I didn't know this, but my wife had begun an extramarital affair outside of the house.
Oh,
And it's
no.
started to break down the fabric of the family that I had built. And I went inside and I was thinking, wow, what the fuck is that? Oh, that's weird. I was like, you know what? He's been home all day. It's hot outside. He's been in the yard. He drank some insecticide mixed with beer. That's what this is. He's nuts, right? So so I dismissed it. You know, he got fertilizer in his mouth. I don't know what happened, right? But I dismissed it. And the next day, I met him outside again. He's like, "Hey, man, what's going on?" I was like, "Hey, come talk to me. What is that yesterday? What are you talking? You know, what are you saying that to me for? Why would you say that?" He said, "Man, what are you talking about?" I said, and I repeated what he said. He laughed uncontrollably. He said, "I didn't say that." I said, "Oh, absolutely, you did." I said, and it kind of pissed me off. Why would you say that? He's like, "Oh, come on. I didn't say that to you. I wouldn't say that." I said, "Yeah, John, you did." He's like, "No, you're messing with me. I didn't say that." I was like, "Okay." So I let it go after like 5 minutes of arguing. There was no point. But looking back, I'm not sure what it is. You can call it nambular possession, you can call it spirit possession, whatever it was, mimics. I don't know. I don't know if it was him. I believe it was, but I don't think that he was in control of his mental faculties at the time because that wasn't really the style of him to talk like that. He never made a dirty joke. He never told a boob joke or, you know, an off colored joke, you know, when we had our meetings. So it was one of those things that you kind of dismiss at the time. And I didn't even think about it until I started writing this memoir. And I was like, okay, now I see that was phase one, trying to get me, trying to goat me. And so things from there eventually escalated.
Yeah, man. So I know beyond like your experiences in that house, right? That you also do paranormal investigation. So
I
do you
do.
say that certain locations attract darkness, or do people kind of bring it with them?
Well, that is an interesting question and probably one that is left better to be answered by theologians and scholars centuries from now. We have technology to kind of give us an idea of what we're looking at. But I think we've reached an impasse to where it's almost comical now. And I've got the K2 meters, I've got the, temperature sensors and all of the tricks and tools of the trade. But they still haven't given me an absolute certain answer to what these are. I would love to go to an encyclopedia, open it up, page 15. Ah, there it is. Poltergeist, origin, German. Usually noisy spiritual ghost. Oh, okay, interesting. Next page. Demonic entity. Never existed in human form, created by Lucifer the devil. You know, if you're into the Judeo Christian belief system,
Correct.
but there's no real study. So, as a paranormal investigator, I am still seeking answers. And keep in mind that there's a distinction between ghost hunting and paranormal investigating. I don't I don't ghost hunt. I don't have to. They're here every day. I have something new happening almost every day. Not to the level that I wrote about in my book. Understand that. I'm not under attack anymore. I'm not under spiritual attack, but I have paranormal experiences all the time. You know, I put on TikTok a couple of weeks ago where I was home alone and my garage door, the doorknob turns and it opens just a peek. And I call out, "Hello." Door slams shut. Okay, huh. I'm gonna record this. I recorded a second time. Doorknob turns, twists slowly. The back set latch disengages. The door opens again, just a crack. "Hello." Slam shut again. I jump up. I'm going to grab my K2 meter. I'm going to go look at grab both meters, and I'm scanning, scanning, scanning. Absolutely no residual energy. So the tools that we use don't always detect paranormal activity. Sometimes you get nothing. And you can go into a location, you can sit there for an hour, you can pee in a bottle, you can do all these things and stake it out, and it doesn't make a difference. If it's going to appear, it's going to appear. But for me, I'm still seeking the one-armed man that wronged my family, and I haven't found him yet. I'm still on the trail, and I don't understand what these were, but I can tell you what happened next was the absolute only time in my adult life that I was terrified, absolutely horrified. And it takes a lot to scare me. Now, keep in mind that I'm glossing over a whole ton of things that are in this book. And these are just kind of the Cliff's Notes version. But before I tell this story, I will take a drink of my coffee and clear my throat because this one always gets me. Even when I retell it, I still feel the chills. It is terrifying.
Do you have haunted objects with you in your home?
I do. I actually curate. I do have haunted objects right now. I've got about 6. And they're in a warded chest in the garage. I have every protection symbol known to man on this wooden chest. And I never touch these things with my bare hands. And I'll tell you why. Because I was at the Winchester Mansion and I happened to just put my hand up to rest myself during the tour, and the wallpaper is so decayed. It fell off in my hand. I was like, oh, sweet score. So I tuck it into my pocket. So I returned to Idaho. I have a heart attack and lose my job in the next week. And, at the ripe age of 41 years old. So I don't touch these. I don't touch these objects with my bare hands anymore. Coincidence? Maybe, perhaps, probably. But I handle them with forceps. And, when I happen upon a cursed or haunted object, I'm very careful with it. I don't buy anything that is questionable. I do a lot of research beforehand. For example, I bought a silver creamer tea creamer, just like the gravy boat piece.
Yeah.
And I bought it from a guy from Manhattan who claimed it was from Danny Lutz. Now, the Lutz family was from the Amityville horror story. And he claimed that Danny Lutz had fallen on hard times. This is terrible to say. Can't believe I'm saying this. Poor guy. Danny Lutz apparently has fallen on hard times financially, and he's hawking everything. And whether it came from his Amityville house or not, it's a lucrative business. If you can get legitimately, certified objects that have been in a haunted location or possess the haunted energy themselves. Now, I've sold a piece of the Queen Mary. When I investigated there, they were doing a wall repair. They had cut open the wall and they had all these pieces of the fiber board that made up the bulkhead. They were throwing them in the garbage, so I grabbed a piece, tucked it in my pocket, and there it is. It was going in the garbage anyway. No harm, no foul. And, people buy these things. And probably the most interesting piece I have is that wallpaper. It's just a piece of paper selected by Sarah Winchester herself, yes. Now, the interesting thing is, I'd give it maybe 70% of the time I'll throw the meter on just this piece of paper, and it'll peg that meter all the way to the red. So I handle it with tweezers. I put it in a little box that's magnetically sealed inside of a little, burlap sack, inside of another wooden box, inside of the chest, outside in the garage. So I don't want that stuff, but my kids are grown. I'm no longer afraid of what I was once afraid of. And I'll tell you what I was afraid of. And here it comes. So I was about a month away from moving out of this house. And I didn't know it at the time. I thought I was going to stay. My marriage had crumbled into disaster. And, the children were exhausted. I was exhausted. And I thought, well, let's throw kind of a Christmas party. Now, at the time, I had received a prestigious business award. I was inducted into the Who's Hall of Fame for business professionals. It was kind of cool. So I decided, let's throw a party. And I had two friends come over and help me select music. Now, keep in mind, MySpace, and I had to burn music onto CDs and then put them into the play. You know the right before the good old days of MP3 players and all that. So the one gal had come over, Meg, and she had brought her friend Josie, and these were friends of my wife and I. They had come to the house frequently for occasions, barbecues, friends of friends. And Meg and Josie are sitting across from each other in the threshold of the doorway to my office. My daughter comes home from school. My wife has already left for work. My daughter comes home downstairs. She's like, "Hey, Dad, I'm going to make a couple of those Totino's pizzas we got at Costco. Do you want one?" I said, "No, I'm good, but this is Josie. This is Meg's friend." And she's like, "Hi, hi. Maybe they'd like a pizza." "Oh, yes, please, pepperoni," Meg answers up. "Combination for me." So my daughter walks back up the stairs. So I check it out. I'm looking at the computer. I'm like, "Oh, yeah, Nickelback. There we go. Let's get some of that." All right. Excuse me. Let's get some Nickelback here. So I start selecting music. They're going through CDs. They're looking. They're suggesting things. I'm looking it up on the computer. And about 45 minutes go by. And I'm like, wow, she should be back by now. And just as I say that, she comes down the stairs. With the grace and skill of a waitress, she has these pizza plates in her arm. And you guys have all eaten the pizzas. You have, right? Little circular pizzas from, Totino's. She comes downstairs. She hands Josie her pizza. She hands Meg her pizza. And then she walks with a third pizza towards me. And I'm sitting at a desk just like this, as if she were to come from behind me. And I turn to her and I say, "No, stop. I'm good. I don't want a pizza." As if she couldn't hear me, she kept walking. I said, No, stop, Beth, right there. Stop. I don't want a pizza." She continues to walk towards me. And I look at her and understand that my kids, I never have to really raise my voice. They would, if I raised my voice just a little bit, they would cry. And they never disobeyed, and they would never, ever embarrass me in front of company, especially somebody they had just met today.
Mhm.
She continues to walk in front of me. She diagonally crosses in front of me and puts the pizza down on the desk. And she looks at me, and her eyes are about this far away from me. Her face is that far. And I look at her eyes, and every hair from my toes, my hobbit toe hair, all the way to the hair on my head are at attention. And she smirks, tight-lipped, toothless grin, and stares at me. And I look into her eyes, and I know that whatever that thing is not my daughter. I'm paralyzed in place. I'm terrified. For the first time in my adult life, I can't move. I don't know what it is, but I know I don't want it to touch me at all costs. I felt like it would infect me somehow on a subconscious level. I look again, and her smirk widens, if that's possible, looking at me.
Ooh.
I summon up every jewel of energy every man saves for home invasion fantasies or daydream trips of being a hero, saving the world, whatever it is. And I tap into that. And all of a sudden, I feel a charge of energy, and I feel my strength return plus. And I boom. And I mean, I boom with a voice that sounds supernaturally loud. It is so loud, it shakes the windows. And I look at it and I scream with everything I have, this far from my face, "Get away from me or I'll kill you." This thing didn't blink.
Mm.
It didn't move. It stayed frozen, smirking. Josie drops her pizza and puts her hand up in a reflexatory action. My voice is so loud. And it's probably 3,000 times louder than what I just did. It is so loud, it shook the house. Everything I could muster. It didn't move. It continued to smirk. And then slowly, it backed away, always keeping eye contact with me, made its way to the threshold where Meg and Josie were opposite each other, turned back once again, looked at me, and smirked again. Walked to the stairwell, slowly, deliberately, almost as if somebody's trying to pretend they're moving in slow motion. She grabs the handrail, turns back once more, and smirks at me, and goes upstairs. Now, Josie, not knowing who I was and never met me before, she's on the phone to the police. She's going to call Health and Human Services to have me removed for screaming, "I'm going to kill my daughter," right? She'd never seen anything like this. Meg stops her. "Hold on, stop. I know Doug. I know his kids. They would never disobey. Something is wrong. Josie, hold on." I said, "Josie, I apologize. You do not know me, but I can tell you with certainty whatever that thing was, that is not my daughter." She said, "Well, you need to go upstairs and see." I said, I can't move. I'm terrified." So it took about 20 minutes for me to muster up the courage to go upstairs. We all three decide to go upstairs. We go into my daughter's room where she is fast asleep. We stand around her bed. We wake her up. And I say, "Well, what the fuck was that downstairs? What is going on?" She looks confused and bewildered. She has no memory of meeting Josie. She has no idea who she is. She has no memory of making the pizzas. She has no recollection of bringing the pizzas downstairs. She remembers getting her backpack on at school and getting ready to walk home. And that was it. At that point,
Hell no.
I gave myself permission to step off the battlefield. I said, "Okay, that's it. I'm done. I am not willing to sacrifice my daughter to whatever this is. You got me. Checkmate. Checkmate. It's been like a year and a half. Well done. Well played." And when I did that, when I stopped, it stopped. All of the activity just stopped. Not one thing happened the last month I was in that house. I took down the crucifixes. I stopped making the sign of the cross before we ate and prayed. I stopped going to church. Now, I went back to church to wrap things up, just to, so I didn't just disappear and they'd come looking for me. And I'm walking up the aisle after a service, and I turn around, and all of a sudden there is the priest who, and keep in mind, I hadn't talked to this priest in like a year since, he originally got me in the house. This man was very busy. You had to literally schedule your confession months in advance if you wanted to have it done. It was so crazy. They even brought in a second priest to help him out. So he says to me, he puts his hand on my shoulder. He says, "Hey, I kind of heard you might be having a little trouble at your house." And what did I do? I lied my ass off. I said, "Oh, we had a little bit of trouble. You know what? It's good now. It's just a little hiccup, but everything's just fine." And then he said, "Okay." He looked at me and patted my shoulder and walked away. Now, at that time, I didn't have faith enough to think that this man had the wherewithal or the perspicacity to actually combat this evil that was in my home. And I couldn't risk it because I had another daughter. And I wasn't willing to chance that he and his faith was strong enough to expel whatever this thing was without making it worse. I was afraid. I was terrified. So we leave the house, and the paranormal continues. But again, not to the level that it did then. That was something entirely different. What I experience now are, essentially harmless pranks. I would say the door's opening, the light switch flicks off right before my hand gets to it, things like that happen. And that's a different energy. That's a different feeling than whatever this thing was in my daughter, whatever this thing was that was in my neighbor that was like a test run. I see that now. But again, 20 years in the making, because when you write this down, boy, if I didn't have a witness, and if I didn't have photos, and yes, there are pictures in my book, if I didn't have audio, and if I hadn't brought in a paranormal investigation team, which I didn't talk about tonight, but I did have them come in, and they were not disappointed, let me tell you. Whatever this thing was, it didn't give a shit who saw it. It performed like a circus act. If I didn't have all of this evidence, a police report, all of these things, I would have thought I needed a whole fistful of Prozac and probably a vacation. I would have
hurt at that point either.
Yeah, exactly. So that is the origin of the Unholy Silence. And my life now, I continue to have people on my show who have had extraordinary incidences, the people who are plagued by entities, by spirits, people who don't understand what they're dealing with, in an effort to, I guess, uncover the origin, the nature, and also to help people and let them know you're not alone. These things are real. And here you can quote me. These things are real. They do not need you to believe in them to exist. They simply do, whether you believe it or not. So that's to all you skeptics out there. Doesn't matter if you believe it or not, they are real. It's documented. So that is the essence of the Unholy Silence, the Unholy Podcast, the Unholy Broadcast live radio show, where you can come on and tell your most bizarre stories unfiltered. And that is the essential path that I am on.
So do you now believe that whatever haunted that home, or at that time, obviously because you left, is completely gone, or do you think it was merely dormant?
That's an interesting question. I drive by the house now, and there's a tow truck parked on the front lawn. I won't describe the rest of the house to you, but you can kind of probably imagine what the decor looks like. What a lovely color of mauve sheets hanging in the window for drapes. It's terrible. I'm not sure. I haven't returned to the house to investigate. I haven't talked to my old neighbor. I don't really know if the entities are there or if it was something different. But it's entirely possible that my ex-wife was probably inviting these things at the time, counterproductive to my efforts. When she had left to go pursue her affair and left me essentially with the children to pack up and leave, we found crystals. We found notebooks. We found bizarre Roman Catholic rituals printed out from the computer. We found demonic incantations, spells. I found a whole bunch of things tucked in the closet, under the bed, under the mattress that she had left there. So upon, retrospect, it looked like she might have been dabbling into things that she probably shouldn't have been. So it's entirely possible that it was connected to her. But I firmly believe that once somebody experiences the paranormal, they continue to experience it for their whole life.
Yeah.
I have two questions. Okay, so if the current owners invited you back to that property to investigate, was that something you would ever consider? And second off, it's a little bit of a different question, but you mentioned your neighbor's piercing blue eyes. Did they change? What was? I'm scared to ask.
No, and that's so to answer your question, absolutely, I would go back in. I would go back in with my team of investigators and look at it scientifically. My daughter is almost 30 years old now. So, I'm not afraid of them. She's like, cool combat goth chickie. She's like, bring it on. She doesn't care. She's powerful and she's grown up just great. I'll tell you a little secret though. Occasionally when we're watching a horror movie or whatever, I will throw holy water on her just as a joke. kind of a sick prank. It's a dad joke, Dad, stop it.
Perhaps you're spinning around, you're
yeah, right, exactly. But no, it's great. But yes, I would go back and investigate. And the eyes never changed color. The facial features never changed. I looked into their eyes and they were their eyes. They didn't like turn black like on Supernatural or the movies, or yellow with the glowing like, hello, Father Karras, or, any of that stuff. It wasn't that. It was just, if you have a pet, if you have a child, you know what they look like and they give you that look and you can see it. Now, imagine your pet looking exactly as it does, or your child looking like they do, but you look into their eyes and they hold them a different way. And it's not that the eyes have changed, the shape, the color. It's indescribable when you look at them, how the eyes became mocking you.
Yeah.
Almost, it's impossible to describe until you see it.
Yeah.
And it's that silent smirk of the eyes and the face that tell you that something else is going on.
The windows to the soul. Yeah. Oh, that's really creepy. I
So,
do regret asking now.
Like for instance, if you piss off your best friend, your husband, your daughter, when you piss them off, you look at their eyes, they seem to change, but they are their eyes. You're like, wow, your eyes just totally told me you're pissed off. When you get that death look from your kids, right? Or whatever it is, it's different, but physically they hadn't changed, but they hold them differently. The intent from the person with the eyes is different.
It's like their soul was different for a
Yeah.
second. You caught a different glimpse of them.
Absolutely.
So now, after everything you've experienced, what frightens Doug Owen today?
Taxes, bills. Did I pay that insurance? Did I pay the insurance? Shit. And I'll tell you what, the most horrifying thing is these gas prices. I'm like, man, can I really afford to take that vacation? Right? I should go there. I should have Father Bob come and bless the gas pumps and get rid of the evil that's there. So at this point, that is basically the only thing that really frightens me. Just ordinary things that frighten normal people. As for the paranormal, I'm no longer afraid because, at that time, my kids were everything, and they still are. However, they were vulnerable. Now they're adults. Now they can take care of themselves. They're experienced. But at the time, it was the tenderness and the innocence of them that I was protecting at all costs, because that was my job as dad, to take care of this.
Oh, yeah.
But now you want to come and, possess my husky? Go ahead. Go ahead.
My husky, she's trying to this.
Husky acts like he's possessed anyway. So, good for him. So, I don't really have any, I hate to say this is a terrible thing to say, and I probably shouldn't say it because I'll be inviting evil, but, I really don't have anything to lose in that respect of losing my children or having something, do that to that extreme. And maybe, and keep in mind, this isn't a tale of victory. This isn't, oh, I defeated the deal. This is a concession.
Yeah.
I gave myself permission to step off that battlefield, and I just wasn't willing to fight anymore. I was like, you know what?
You win.
There it
You
is.
don't need the drama. Yeah.
Yeah, exactly. But in the back of my mind, I'm like, to be continued, motherfucker. We'll see. So,
Yeah.
it's like that. But, and that's the thing is I talked to New Orleans Paranormal Society, and, Chris over there, he's telling me, he says in his experience, demons don't have an expiration date. He said, this thing could come back in 30 years. This thing could come back when you're in a nursing home and say, hey, you ready for round 2? Time doesn't really have any meaning for entity spirits and things that are otherworldly. But, that's a conversation for another time. But that is in the essence of the battle. And again, there is so much more in the book. There are so many other nuances that I left out. There's so much more details. The photos will probably give you the chills that were captured. This was back in 2008, 2010, the photos. There's no Photoshop. There's no, AI back then. These are legit photos and images of things that had happened and that occurred. So, yeah.
So
Well,
go ahead.
We all want to jump in.
Yeah.
Sure.
Haley, go.
I just wanted to acknowledge the comments real quick because these are wonderful.
Yeah.
We have Lisa from the Cryptid Women's Society asking if Doug can do a voiceover series. I second that. You have such a great voice. That would be amazing and scary as hell.
Thank you.
Thank you to Holly, to Steve, to wow, your friend Mason in the comments. Loves you very much, Doug.
Oh, very nice.
Steve seconds the fatherly comment. Yeah, that should be on a t-shirt for sure.
Nice.
Hero Spirits, we have Sean, Todd. Just thank you everyone for listening in tonight, and you had wonderful feedback. We love Doug, and that's the consensus. So
Well, thank you very much. I love you all too. You guys are fantastic. Fans are absolutely great. The paranormal community is great. Every podcast, every interview, every television show, the community really comes together. There's not a lot of heckling. And even if you're a skeptic, you really do it in a respectful way, which is appreciated, because everybody has their own beliefs. And it's very personal. It's like the toothpaste you choose. Don't come to my house with Colgate. We're a Crest household. You know what I mean? So it's everybody's personal preferences, and everybody, we're all on the same journey together. We're all in the same life together. We just happen to be here at this time together. Let's be better to each other. You know what I mean? Take care of each other.
absolutely.
Do the right things.
Absolutely.
Somebody,
Don't make us break up the holy water on you.
somebody in the comments said where I can't read the full thing, but it says cooking with D something. It says hello, handsome, and hi, ladies.
Oh, there you go.
Oh,
Something for everyone.
that would probably be for me. That would probably be Angelina. That would be my girlfriend.
Okay,
Aw.
there you go.
Aw.
Nice.
Yeah,
Yeah.
We're
There we go.
Awesome.
yeah, she is fantastic. Part of my team, my authentic haunted paranormal team. She investigates these sites with me, and
Amazing.
what a wonderful companion. Little side story here. So, I've known her for probably 45 years. Now, imagine this. Little Dougie, 1987, junior high school. I'm on the football team and I go into junior high, and around the corner, I see the most beautiful woman I've ever seen in slow motion. Her hair bounding like the girl in the shampoo commercials. And I feel the wind gut punch out of me. I'm instantly smitten. And for the next 40 years, I am terrified to ask this woman out for through 2 marriages, through her relationships, everything else. Finally, after 4 decades, I finally plucked up the courage and said, "Hey, let's give this a shot. I've adored you for years. You're fantastic. You're amazing. Let's give it a try." And I got to tell you, it has been absolutely everything I ever wanted. And it's amazing.
I know my heart.
Did you see her comment back? You gotta put that on the screen, Katie. It's
Oh
like,
yeah.
There you go. Aww.
Oh.
There's a happy ending after all. Thank goodness.
That was great. Usually she says that I'm the most effective long-term stalker she's ever seen. So,
Hey, sometimes
That's
one
great.
and the same, right?
well, I said I wasn't very effective if it took me 40 years to get you, right? So there it is. True story.
Playing
True
the long
story.
game.
Absolutely.
And I just had one last question. So, if our listeners are to remember like one thing about your story, what should it be?
It would be that even though there are things we don't understand, things that society will judge you for, and it may be painful and it may be tough. The road ahead may be rocky, but remember this: if it's happening to you, it's happening to somebody else, and it is real. We're taught in society to doubt ourselves. Well, you've got to be crazy. Oh, you've had too much caffeine. Oh, you're tired. Oh, it was that cocaine you snorted last, whatever it is. We're taught to doubt our own sanity first. Look for a somatic possibility, medication, imbalance, fatigue, mental illness. But I tell you that if you believe that this is happening to you, reach out, get help. There are great people out there, great organizations. In Idaho, there is, a couple of different really great organizations out there that really step up to the plate and really help out. And they came to help me too. They came to help me out back in the day. And, Big River Paranormal, they are one of the best that's out there. Back in the day, they weren't named Big River Paranormal, but they are now. And Marie over there is fantastic. These people can help you. They can come and examine and investigate and help you understand what this is. And at the very least, if they don't come up with a resolution, they can expel this stuff or help you expel it and move on.
Mhm.
So drop the shame, let go of the bag of bricks you're carrying. This is happening to you. It's not your fault. Get help.
Yeah, absolutely.
Well, Doug, this has been amazing. What day of the week do your new videos drop?
My podcast drops on Fridays. So I have new episodes of the Unholy Podcast dropping Friday. And then I have the Unholy Broadcast, the live radio show, also on Friday nights on the Unexplained Radio Network. So you can see that there. You can call in, tell us your stories, have a good laugh. There's always some drunk Texan in the chat that'll probably heckle you, but it's great.
That's half the fun, right?
Absolutely. Friday nights are great.
Excellent. And you are on all of the socials for people that want to just kind of see what you are up to on a regular basis?
9 social media accounts is exhausting. I've also got, my author, DougOwen.com. That's kind of the hub for everything. If you want the latest updates and to see what I'm up to and get a sneak peek at my 2 new books coming out before Christmas, that is the place to find it, author, DougOwen.com.
Before we go,
Oh, yes. Yes, Rachel, before we go.
this one you'll see actually has our name on it. It just is hot off the presses. This is a pendulum board that my husband is so nicely making. That's us.
Is he?
But he's got others. He's got
Other way. There you go.
cryptids, like Bigfoot and Dogman,
Oh, nice.
Thank you, Keith.
Chupacabra.
Okay. All right.
Might need to get a special Unholy Podcast version of
Oh,
it.
Wendigo.
Wendigo, yes.
Oh, you're both cursed. Nice knowing you. So
Gray.
cute. I love them.
That's great.
And then the
so
last two are the Jersey Devil
Oh, very nice. Very nice.
and
Mothman.
Oh, that is great.
but our favorites have to be
Well, we're a little biased, but yeah.
Very, very nice. Very nice.
Oh my gosh, that is so great.
This was a
Well,
wonderful episode. We need him on again. There's so
Yes.
much more to talk about. I had like 15 more questions, but
Come hang with us anytime.
the
Doug. We
stories are so
appreciate you.
good.
Oh, it's my pleasure. I appreciate you ladies, and thanks so much for doing my show. It's fantastic. And, I'd love to pop back in and tell more torrid tales of the unholy. So thank you so much for having me on. I appreciate it, ladies.
yeah, thank you, Doug.
Very much.
Oh, by the way, my girlfriend Dawn, she says she wants to hang out with you guys. So just
Hell
just
yeah.
Okay.
a little side note
Girls'
there.
night.
Oh, no.
Oh, we're missing the Pukwudgie. Yeah, next I'll have to
Add
have
that
him
to the
make
queue.
Pukwudgie.
Yeah.
Those
We're
are-
just going to put that right there and let people spend the next week looking at the Pukwudgie and
There you
figuring
go.
out what it is.
Awesome.
All right. Well, Doug, thank you so much. My sisters, I love you. We will see all of you guys again back here next Thursday. Haley, who's our guest next Thursday?
Oh my gosh. Who's our guest
Different
next
Stoker.
Thursday?
July 2nd.
Jennifer Stoker.
Oh my gosh. How could I forget? I'm still freaked out by Doug's story, honestly.
You're gonna be sleeping with the light on tonight.
Yeah, our guest next week is incredibly cool. We have such a great lineup. Just my mind is perpetually blown. Yes. Tune in next week. We're gonna have a fantastic time. Oh my gosh. And I can't believe it's almost July already. Holy crap.
Yeah, it'll be July 2nd.
Ah!
But yeah, if anybody doesn't know who Dacre Stoker is, he is the great nephew of the one and only Bram Stoker. who wrote.
Yeah, it's
Dracula.
gonna be so cool.
So he's going to talk about his current books and what else he's got coming on the horizon.
Wonderful.
Yep,
So-
it'll be great. We'll see you guys then. Keep it spooky. Bye.
Bye, guys.
Bye.